Hi Homeworthy, I'm Rachel Donath. Welcome to my home here in Melbourne, Australia.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi, my name is Rachel Donath. I'm a furniture designer and welcome to my home here in Melbourne, Australia. I bought this home on a whim about 11 or 12 years ago. We were not actively looking, but I was outside and going through junk mail and saw a real estate catalogue and would never have normally flicked through it, but I was just, for whatever reason, was just hanging around there and I looked through it and I saw this house, and the day of the auction was the day before, so I had just missed the auction, but I just thought it was such a charming, beautiful little cottage. And so I drove past to have a look and there was no sold sticker. So I think it was a Sunday and I called the agent and I said, there's no sold sticker, I know it's Sunday, but I really love this house, can you take me through it? And he responded within like 10 minutes and I walked through it that afternoon. It was just, had passed in the day before, so it was just really good luck. I walked through the house and my first impression, even though it was in original condition, it was an old heritage home in original condition with sort of really colourful carpet and wallpaper and an outdoor toilet. But my first thought was, it just had such a beautiful energy. It felt and it smelt like a holiday home. Even the garden, just the whole space, even in its original condition, it just had a beautiful feeling and it really pulled me into it. Put an offer in that afternoon and we bought it within 24 hours. So it was a very quick, spontaneous, I feel like it was just meant to be. This home is 120 years old. It is a Edwardian-style home. So it's got double fronted with the bay windows, it's weatherboard, it's got the beautiful terracotta roof, it's got a lot of beautiful features, it's got beautiful symmetry externally, and it's a home that is heritage protected, which means that the local government here in Melbourne has put restrictions around developing it to preserve its history. And so when we wanted to move in and bring it up to date, we needed to be very sensitive to the heritage overlays and to the historical restrictions around retaining the facade and the original character of the home. So even to the extent that when we needed to replace some of the weatherboards at the front, we had to make sure that the profile was exactly the same as original. The tiling, we're limited to only using terracotta tiles. Even with the colours to paint the house or the front fence, we needed to get explicit permission from the council to be able to do that. So for me, it was a real privilege to be able to own a piece of history and to be able to respectfully restore it and love it as much as it has been loved for the last 100+ years. Welcome to the entryway of my home. I want to point out this tapestry, which actually is another piece that I sourced and could not let go of. So it was a piece that I sourced to sell, and as soon as it arrived, I unwrapped it and I opened it. It came from France. It's like a 450-year-old tapestry that was in a beautiful chapel 400 years ago in the countryside of France. And when I opened it and saw the amazing colours and intricacy, I just thought, this is one of a kind. I'm not selling this. I've collected and seen a lot of tapestries in my life, and to get the beautiful colour that this one has, the reds and the blues and the greens, it's rare. And I just felt that I would miss it forever if I sold it. Even though I had a lot of people who wanted to buy it, I just couldn't do it. And so I had it, it was kind of falling apart a little bit because of its age. And so we had it backed and really preserved, expertly preserved by someone local. So I really wanted to make sure that it's got another 400 years in it. And I think that when you're looking at really old pieces, you need to care about them a lot. And often you need to be thinking about how to preserve them so that they last another 400 years, because it clearly, when it arrived, it was beautiful, but it had holes in it. It was quite frayed, and a lot of that adds to the charm and the beauty of it. But I think if it's left as is without being further preserved, it can just continue to deteriorate. So it was very important to me to be able to take really good care of it and to have it backed and have it professionally restored, so that we still have the charm of it and the age of it, but it is now protected in terms of not decaying further, so that it can hopefully be passed down for generations through my family. The front part of the house is original. This is the original part of the house. The house was a lot shorter and smaller than what it is today when we first bought it, and a lot of the regulation, the government regulation around purchasing and restoring an old house pertains to the external, but I really wanted to also preserve the internal of the house as well and retain some of that character. So even though the plaster wasn't in good condition and we had to redo a lot of the plaster work, we've still kind of kept the high ceilings and the cornices, and we've tried to recreate what was originally here, even though we've had to use new materials because the originals were so damaged. So we've put in the beautiful plaster arch, which was not here originally, but it is reminiscent of what was here originally. The arch that was here initially was quite, we weren't able to restore it, and so we were able to sort of bring in something that was like it to kind of create that feeling again. And I love that. I love that there's the old part of the house and the new part of the house, and as you walk through, it becomes a little bit, you start to notice the new, and I wanted to really symbolize that. I mean, even the ceiling height is different from this section of the house to the next section of the house. We were limited in ceiling height with the back section because of the second story that we've put on. And so although I fought to the death to keep our ceilings really high, we've kept them as high as possible, and they're still quite high, but they're not as high as the original ceilings, which are above me here. And that's because we needed to be able to get the stairs up, and we just had to sort of compromise there. So that was one thing we had to compromise on. But a nice way to sort of break it up is with this arch, which is just a nice, a beautiful sort of feature that I love. Welcome to my living room. So many special pieces in this room that I absolutely adore. These are vintage Jean Purcell wall lights, which I purchased at auction a while ago. They were originally this like brassy color, which I didn't love. And so believe it or not, I actually had a car accident right before I bought these. And so my car was going in to be repaired, and my car color was this beautiful pewter gray. And I took the lights in, these vintage French one-off light sconces, and I asked the mechanic if he can spray the light sconces with the remaining leftover paint from my car, which he did. So you never believe, but this beautiful finish is actually a car finish, and I think they've come up really beautifully. So it's just one of those things that's quite sort of personal and my own kind of take on this gorgeous light. I think being creative and being resourceful in terms of making pieces your own is all part of the bigger story, and I'm quite proud of this little bit of resourcefulness. So those are the lights. This here is a sculpture, a sandstone sculpture. It's actually two pieces from two different artisans. So I bought this plinth here as a side table originally, and I bought the egg sculpture as a doorstop. And then as I was sort of putting the house together, I realized that they actually look really beautiful together. And if I layer one above the other, the material is so similar that it looks like a sculpture. So in honesty, it's actually it's two different pieces. And this is actually supposed to be a side table, but I figured as a whole, it makes a beautiful sculptural piece. And I get a lot of comments on this, and everyone can't believe that it's not actually supposed to be a sculpture, but here we are. We've turned it into a sculpture, which I love. So this chair here, it's our Cohen linen armchair. It's one of the first pieces in the collection and was very much designed for this space right here in this room. So there's something very personal about them. They were designed for me, which is how a lot of the pieces in my collection have come to be, is I've seen a space in my own home where I wanted a specific type of furniture piece that I couldn't find anywhere else, and so I've made it myself. It's got that sort of old world French sort of reference with the contrast piping and the monochromatic palette, but it's also got the beautiful linen and the feather insert, and it's amazingly comfortable. So I feel like it ticks all the boxes, and it's just my dream chair, and I love that I get to sit in it every single day. And they're also surprisingly really hardy. I mean, they're linen and they're light in colour, but they somehow always come up beautifully after a clean. And I've had them for about 4 years now, and they've stood the test of time. So you definitely can do white with little children and pets. That's 100%, is that I'm all for doing white, even when you've got kids and pets running around. The fire screen here is also a really special piece that I designed. It's got the gorgeous silhouette all through it, which is beautiful. It also comes in a room divider, but it's beautiful with like a light shining through it. It throws a gorgeous sort of reflection and shadow on the floor. And I feel like it's quite an artful piece. I think fireplaces are beautiful from a practicality perspective, we need a screen in front of them, but also it's also an opportunity to add art into a home. And I'm all about adding art and adding beautiful pieces, drawing the eye, creating curiosity, creating talking points within a home. And I feel like this does exactly that. It's a talking point. It's a place that your eye lands on. It's an interesting piece, and I'm thrilled with it. This here is a little gorgeous clay sculpture that my 8-year-old son made in school. And he brought it home and he showed me, and I was blown away by its beauty. I know it's like a little piece of craft made by an 8-year-old child, but for me this is like something that I will have forever. I think it's magnificent. I love the color, I love the texture, I love everything he's done with it. I love the little piece of fluffy wire around it, and I would pay good money for this. Like, this is a really special piece. So this is on the mantle and not going anywhere. This is actually a coffee table that I found the base, I painted it myself, and then I sourced the viola top from a local stonemason. So it was very much a bit of DIY. This was done well before I started my brand, and it was just me on a budget trying to think, how can I create a beautiful viola coffee table without necessarily being able to go out and buy one. So it was very much a little moment of resourcefulness and trying to sort of create something really beautiful without necessarily having the means to be able to buy it from someone else. I needed to find a way to make it myself. So it's quite special to me. And even though I do have a lot of coffee tables, like beautiful coffee tables in my collection, I'm sticking with this one for now because it's just got a lot of meaning to me in terms of the story of how it came to be. I love to layer the coffee table with beautiful books, whether it's design books, books on art, old auction catalogues, sculptures that I've found. You know, that one there is a vintage piece. These here are some of the candles from my own collection with the beautiful marble top on them as well. So it's a real sort of mix. It's constantly changing and evolving, the coffee table, but it's definitely a bit of a space that sets the tone of the room, and I really want this space to feel like a place where we all get together, where we talk, where we read, where we laugh, where we share. And I think the coffee table, having some interesting books and interesting sort of things to look at, definitely encourages that dynamic in this space, which is what this space has been designed for. Our north side of our home is that way, and while we didn't have any windows facing the north side, I really wanted to bring that light element into the home. And so together with the architect, we had the idea to create this light well, and so to bring in the light through the roof, coming all the way down. It's such a special architectural detail for me. I feel like this wall and this side of the room is one of my favorite elements of the design of the home in the walls. We've put a beautiful Anna Charlesworth plaster sconce over here, so that as the day goes by and the sun drops, the shadow kind of comes down this wall, and then when we have the wall light on, it just has a beautiful sort of, it creates a beautiful shadow, and that was very intentionally thought out in terms of the placement of this lamp right beneath that light well. And it's just a really nice sort of way to sort of bring light in, get the northerly light into the space, and create that you know, the roof height difference, which I think just adds another element in terms of just interest and in terms of feel of the room and the space. And this is our dining space here. This room was built for this table right here. This table is a piece that I hope will go from generation to generation in my family. It's extremely special to me. It's a solid oak Danish vintage table. I'm not sure if you can see, but the legs have the most beautiful sculptural shapes through them, and it's just a real conversation piece, and it's sculpturally beautiful. It's very much one of a kind, and it is possibly my favorite thing in this house is this dining table. So I bought this dining table at auction well before we had this home, and I stored it at my parents' place in their garage, even though everyone thought I was mad because I did not have anywhere to put it. And I knew one day I would find a space for it because I always had a vision of being able to like have this dining table in my home. And so when we renovated this space, the brief to the architect was literally, make sure this dining table fits. And so we actually built this space, and it sort of pops out from the rest of the house. It's built for this table. So it's quite special to me. The light above is an Anna Charlesworth plaster light. And I think that it's got a beautiful glow when the lights are on. I really wanted to focus on the lighting around the dining table being very conversational, being very mood driven as opposed to overhead lights. So there's no overhead lights, it's just the lowered pendant over the table, and then there's some wall lights as well. So for me, lighting is a really big part of creating a room and creating a mood, and it was very intentional for me what materials we use for lighting and where we place them when designing this space. So we've got beautiful low hanging pendant. I've got this divine Murano vase, which is maybe, I want to say 60 years old. It's a beautiful old vase. It does have a crack in it, which unfortunately happens when things are 60 years old, but I just put another vase inside it and fill the inside vase with water in order to use it for florals and for, for arrangements. So we found a way around it, even though it does have a crack, but I refuse to throw it out because I think that it's just beautiful, and the crack just adds to its, the imperfection, it just adds to its charm, so I'm not bothered by that at all. These dining chairs are the Matisse dining chair from my collection. They've got a beautiful vintage feel to it, which is exactly what I wanted. I wanted to create a chair that had all the charm of vintage and all the story of a vintage piece. It's got the beautiful turned timber leg. It's got the rush weave, the ladder back rush weave, and it's a really solid, beautiful timber chair. And I know it's difficult to find often a set of chairs. When you're looking at vintage chairs, they've got this beautiful charm, they've got this beautiful patina, but often you can only find 3 or 4 if you're lucky, sometimes only 2. And so I really wanted to create a vintage-esque chair that was artful, that was sculptural, that had a beautiful shape to it, that was a beautiful quality, so that people can have a set of 6, a set of 10 around their table and be able to get a matching set. So these chairs are the chairs that I have paired with my table. They're really special to me, and they're a beautiful quality. They've got lots of beautiful detail around them. I feel like they're also a real conversation piece. And yeah, they're pretty nice. The floor is a seagrass rug, which comes actually in little squares, so you can have it made to whatever size you like. I love the vibe of it, even though it's not practical. It's definitely, we've been through a few. Since being in this space, only in 3 years, we've had to replace it a couple of times because it does kind of get a bit scraggly, and I'm often told it's not made for dining, it's not made for high use areas, but for me, I would rather live with something really beautiful, even if I do, even if it doesn't have that longevity like these rugs. I feel like it's not, I can replace it every couple of years, and at least I get to enjoy it while it's here. So I just said, I don't care, I want the rug under my table, even though it's not practical. I think it ties in really beautifully with the shapes of the table and with the chairs and with the whole setup. I just feel like it pulls the whole space together. So it's a decision that I definitely do not regret. So in terms of the doors and the windows that you see around the dining area, I did insist when we were building that we go with steel frame doors. We had to have them custom made by metal workers here in Victoria. We had to seek someone out who was quite a distance away. It was a whole story in terms of getting them done, but I actually designed the doors and the windows. I designed the profile. I wanted it to be very open, but I also wanted to bring that old world feel in. Even though this part of the house is new and is an extension of the original part of the house, it was very important to me to maintain that charm and to not be too modern in terms of, I didn't want to have that stark contrast. I wanted to be respectful of the heritage and the older elements of the home. And so designing these doors was very much, I did a lot of research around doors from 100 or so years ago and the mullion and where they sat. And it was very much intentional, and I designed these doors myself. So I feel a little bit proud of them, and I'm definitely really, really happy that I went ahead with steel doors, because they've just got a beautiful solidness to them. Even opening and closing them, they just have this nice sort of quality feel. And I think that going with real materials, so going with the metal as opposed to going with like a plastic or inferior version of these doors, it just wouldn't have had the same feel. So I'm quite happy that I stuck with my guns. I've always been really drawn to architecture and to forms and shapes and sculpture, and I've got an eye for these things. I'm a creative person, and I've always been drawn to design and beautiful spaces, and particularly beautiful homes. And so when I had the chance to renovate my own home, it was a real I was ecstatic at the opportunity to finally be able to put my own stamp on a home and do things my way. And I very much leaned into that. Very much the spaces were created around the intention and my philosophy around family life, around home, and around how I want to live and how I want to raise my family as well. So here we are in my kitchen. This kitchen was really, really well thought out in terms of what I wanted this kitchen to achieve. I knew that it was going to be in the main open space where the dining and living rooms are, and so I wanted it to not steal the show. I actually wanted it to sort of fade into the background a little bit, but I did want it to still be aesthetically really soft and soothing. I think that was the vibe that I was thinking for the kitchen. So we've gone with no knobs, as you can see. All the cupboards and doors open up with a lever underneath instead of having knobs. I wanted to keep it extremely minimal. All of our doors and drawers have no handles and no knobs, and all of our appliances are integrated, which means that we have no appliances apart from the oven. We've got no appliances on show. So the fridge is fully concealed, the dishwasher's concealed, and I just love that really minimalistic, modern sort of aesthetic, or I shouldn't say modern, I feel like it's minimalistic, but there is still the classic, the shaker doors and the different profiling and the limestone counters was another decision that I made in spite of being told that it's not practical and that stains show up and that it's not practical in a kitchen. I just said, I don't care, I love it, I'll keep it clean. And I have, so far. I've managed to keep them in good condition, but I definitely am someone who, I love what I love and I'll make it work. If I love a stone that is not practical, I'll still go with it and I'll just make it work because I want to love everything that's in my home, and I fell in love with this stone quite literally. I fell in love with the slab and I selected the slab and I was obsessed with it, and all of our colours in terms of the palettes of the cabinetry, both the lower and upper cabinetry, all revolve around this stone. So it was quite important to me to be able to use this stone in the kitchen. So the kitchen is a space that is often quite clean and the counters are empty as much as possible. I really wanted the other spaces in this room to sort of sing, and I wanted this room to kind of fade a little bit back, not to draw too much attention, but still to be a beautiful, calm, and also timeless space. I think going with like a lighter colour palette, going with natural stone, it's not going to date. I also think leaving knobs off also prevents that dating. I think that once you start putting knobs or hardware on doors, you're setting the clock in terms of dating, because those sorts of things come and go, whereas a clean sort of kitchen with not too much happening is a kitchen I think that will look beautiful for many, many years to come. So this is a lamp by an Australian artist that I purchased. I actually had her lamp in mind for this specific space. I just love its soft curves. I think it ties in beautifully with the lighting in the rest of the room. And I love the idea of being a little bit impractical and putting a lamp on a kitchen counter. I just find that every space is an opportunity for art. Every surface, every wall, every floor, there's always an opportunity for art. And I feel like this is a really artful kind of sculptural lamp that has never been switched on, but it sits there and it makes me happy. I think it's got a beautiful form to it, and I love the idea of bringing art into unexpected places, like in front of a fireplace, on a kitchen bench top. I'm all for doing what brings joy and then finding ways to have practicality around that. So for me it's form first and function after, but the function still happens. So we definitely achieve both, but for me it's definitely about form first in terms of designing my own space. When we moved in about 12 or 13 years ago, the initial plan was just to make it livable, so to bring it back to kind of update the electrical and the plumbing, to bring the toilet inside, because it wasn't livable when we first moved in. So the first renovation was quite intense, because we had to really go through all the walls and rewire and bring it all up to sort of contemporary living standards. But then about 3 years ago, we did a second renovation where we added a second story to have more bedrooms, because now we've got 4 children, so we needed the space for our growing family. And we also were able to extend out the living and dining areas in the kitchen so that it was able to house a growing, busy family. My style is very intentional. I would say that nothing is done by accident, and nothing is done because it was the easy option. I would say that every single piece that I bring into my home is very much treasured and loved and has a real place in my heart. And in exactly the same way, when I renovated this home, I wouldn't compromise on, I wanted steel frame doors, and although there's a million other options that are, cheaper or better for 100 reasons, I really wanted that rustic, beautiful feel of the steel frame door, and I insisted and I got it. It's the same with the fireplace behind me. We were really encouraged by the builder to go with a gas fireplace for ease, for practicality, and I said, no, I want a real fireplace. I want that smell of a fireplace. When it's lit, I want that feeling, that ambience. So for me, I think that ties into my philosophy around design, and it very much speaks through my home as well, is nothing is done in halves. I really want every single moment in the house, every area, every aspect, every element, and the same goes in the pieces that I design and create, to feel very intentional and to come from a place of heart and of passion and of intention. Let me take you to the master bedroom. This here is the master bedroom. This is the first room you see when you walk into the house, and it's a room that I always want to be able to have the door open to. It's a room that I want to show off. It's a room that is really special to me because it is where I relax at the end of the day. It's my safe space. It is, it's all about feeling here, and that's why that explains the ways that I've designed it. So let me just talk you through a few of the elements. We've got the beautiful original fireplace, which is 100 and so years old. The house came with these beautiful original fireplaces, which we've had to close up because we had some issues with all sorts of lovely animals climbing down the chimney, but it's still here aesthetically, although it doesn't work, but I still love the look and feel of it. This is a bust that a vintage bust that I collected, I don't even remember when, a long time ago, and I love it. This is an Italian crystal little trinket bowl that holds sort of some jewelry and clips and bits and pieces. And then this here is the bedroom furniture. So we've got wall lighting as well, which is really important to me. And at the end of the day, I'll always sort of flick the lights on and close the blinds, and that sort of signals to everyone in the house and to me that it's like wind down time. So I'm very much about lighting communicating to us about the intention behind a space. So as soon as it sort of starts getting dark in the evening, I'll put these lights on and I'll turn off any overheads, so the room just feels really beautifully lit, very calm, serene, and this is the space that I come to rest. So we've got the beautiful wall lights, and then we've got the Remy side table and bed, which is from my own collection, with a gorgeous European bedspread over the top. So the shapes of this bed head and side table, I feel like they mirror that calmness, and the materials are very sort of soothing, and they're also very artful and quite beautiful. They've got the deep drawers for storage, and they're a good sort of size for all the things that you want to keep on top of your bedside table or put inside your bedside table. So it's just, for me, this space is very much a calming, soft space that signals end of the day, time to unwind, whether it's a book or a cup of tea or quality time, whatever it is. For me, it's really about this space just being a place to exhale and rest after a busy day. So this vase is something I found on Facebook Marketplace, would you believe, of all places. So I was just searching one day and I found this beautiful old vase. I think that it might be someone's craft project potentially. It is signed with a name at the bottom, but I think it was someone's craft project potentially, which adds to its charm. I absolutely love it. It's a really special piece, either with or without flowers. I feel like it's got beautiful patina. It's got the beautiful sort of glossy green and then the undertones of brown. I just think it's a beautiful piece that is really special to me, and that I love to have some fresh flowers bedside, just to sort of, keep the room fresh and just bring joy into this space. I started my business in 2020. It looked a little bit different to what it looks like today. I was sourcing vintage and antique pieces and selling them on Instagram. And this is one of the first pieces that I sourced. It actually came in a set of a coffee table and a side table and a console. And I couldn't let go of it. I did sell the other pieces, but this one here, I just thought I need to hold on to it because it is so unique and special. And there aren't many that I held on to, but there are a couple of pieces from my initial early days of my business, pieces that I sourced that I just couldn't bear to sell. And this is one of them, this beautiful bench. It actually was a console, and we had the legs cut down to function as a bench. So it has been, again, the resourcefulness, that kind of, creative mind of how I can turn it into a piece that will be functional in my home. And for me, it was a bench, and so we had the legs cut down slightly so it functions as a bench, but it's just really a beautiful sculptural piece. And it also tells a story in terms of where it all began for me, what I did before I started my bigger business. And it's just, it's got that symbolism to me of that real kind of, that creativity and that eye for detail that is what inspired it all, and that it's what continues to inspire what I do today as well. I love my home with such a passion. I don't know if other people understand that feeling, but I wish it on everyone, because it is the most incredible thing to be able to walk into your home at the end of the day, or when you wake up in the morning, to walk down your hallway and just feel just such a beautiful light energy of being in a space that you love with every part of your being. I never ever want to leave this home. I will be here till the day I die. This home has such a special place in my heart. I don't know if I could pick a specific room or space or area, because it's not even about the physicality of it. I honestly think that it's a feeling. This house just feels very much like my space. It feels very me, it feels very safe, and it feels like the best version of me. I've pulled in pieces of furniture, many from my own collection that I've designed for this home, which have turned into pieces that now are in my collection, that make me feel incredibly happy and make me feel that I am living in a space that is deserving of the best version of myself. I think that my home is it's where my heart is, in the truest sense of the word. Coming home is always a treat. I don't ever take for granted living in this beautiful space. I feel so lucky and happy, and that I have stuck with the design decisions that I did, and that I've insisted on the design decisions that I did, because this house just makes me, it's got a beautiful flow to it, it's got a beautiful energy to it, and it's a space that makes me feel really, really happy, genuinely. This here is my daughter's room. This space is such a labor of love and has so much meaning behind it. I almost feel like I'll get emotional while I talk about it. Without going into too much detail, there was a lot of personal fertility pain before having my daughter. And when I fell pregnant with her, it was just the most incredible blessing. And I also have 3 boys before her as well. So her being a girl was also such an enormous treat for me to have a little girl of my own. It was a lifelong dream. I'm sure many people can relate and understand. And so having the chance to decorate her room it just felt like such a gift. And this space here, so much love has been poured into every single choice, every single material, every single fabric, every single element has just been such a labor of love. I can talk through all the different pieces. I mean, the bed head, we sort of have built this nook under the staircase with her bed head, which was a custom bed head that I designed and had made with this gorgeous fabric on it. And this is a vintage French bedspread that I sourced for her. And even the valance was custom made. So I've really kind of played with reds and pinks and clashing and contrasting shapes and prints. We've got florals, we've got stripes, we've really got it all kind of happening. And I just love that this room has a real whimsical, creative, it just feels like a space that you could just go wild in your imagination. It's a space for dreaming. Often I actually come in here and I sit in here during the day when she's not home, and it's just a place that makes me feel like anything is possible. Not only because of the way that just the whimsy and the wallpaper and the play on materials and how this room is just such a magical space, but also because of the journey that I went on to get to the point where I can design this room for my girl. It feels very symbolic to me of anything is possible, of never give up, and that good things will happen, and that good things will happen, you know, after the pain or after the journey that you've been on. So for me, this room feels extremely symbolic. It's a real happy place for me. This light was imported from France. This beaded globe, this beaded piece that goes around the globe, every single detail has really been considered. Every single thing that I pulled into this space was something that I loved. This mirror here is a vintage mirror that is like one of my favorite things ever. The doll's house was the starting point in terms of when I found out I was pregnant. I straight away started sort of thinking about what I want for my daughter and how I want her to live and how I want her to feel. And I know for myself as a child, I loved dolls' houses and I loved that imagining and I loved decorating dolls' houses and I loved that creativity and that endless possibility of being able to build your own family within a doll's house and story. And I think that the doll's house was definitely the starting point. And then that whimsy and that imagination and that creativity, it all kind of stemmed from that. I sort of thought, let's just go for it with this room, and let's just create a real sort of piece of just magnificent sort of beauty and a place that feels really optimistic and like opportunity. Like I want it to feel to her like she can do and be whatever she wants to be and that the world is a happy place, and I want her to really feel that sort of optimism and happiness spending time in this room, playing in this room and sleeping in this room. To me, home means a space not only that you feel safe and that you can be your true self, but also a space where you feel inspired to be the best version of yourself. I think that by surrounding yourself with beauty in your home and living with beautiful pieces and in a beautiful environment, it lifts our spirits and we leave that space out into the world feeling inspired and feeling good and feeling optimistic and feeling ambitious and feeling that we can achieve all of our potential. And I think that's the power of home, and definitely the feeling behind my brand as well, and the philosophy that I talk about all the time in terms of beautiful spaces. It's not just about aesthetics, it's very much about it affects the person. And I think that when we choose beautiful pieces, when we live in a beautiful space that we really love, it's the wind beneath our wings. It lifts us up, it turns us into the best versions of ourselves, and it encourages us to just go forward and just do everything you want to do in your life. It's very much for me a platform that propels us into the best versions of ourselves. It's very inspiring for me. I think home to me is a place of inspiration, but also really deep comfort. Homeworthy, I have loved having you over here today, but I've got to get back to real life. See you.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.